Just before we get going, I want to thank everybody that joined us out at Borden. We almost could have had the meeting there. We were close to a quorum. would have saved everybody the drive back. But no, it's a beautiful day, so let's roll right into it. Jonathan, if you can give me attendance, please.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, members. We have all members in attendance, with the exception of Councillor Van Staveren, who sent regrets, with alternate Councillor John Broderick in attendance. Thank you, Warden. You have your quorum.
Thank you. I'll look for the approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sondu that the agenda for the April 9th, 2024 meeting of County Council be approved.
Everybody's heard the motion. Any questions coming from the agenda? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Do I have a disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council? Well, if you find yourself in that situation later, please declare at that time. Presentations and deputations, we have none on our consent agenda. Councillor Burkett, please.
Through you, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Norcross, that Council Communications and Proclamations March 26, 2024 to April the 8th, 2024 have been given due consideration be received.
Any questions arising from the proclamations? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And could I have the adoption of the minutes with Deputy Warden Coughlin?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through yourself, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Locks, that the following council minutes be confirmed and adopted, and Committee of the Whole reports be confirmed. County Council minutes March 26, 2024, and Committee of the Whole report March 26, 2024.
Any business arising from the minutes? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Presentations and considerations of the Committee of the Whole reports. Councillor Cox.
Good morning, everyone. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Evans that the performance management recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report dated March 26, 2024 be approved.
Any items to be pulled from performance? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Next, Councillor Leduc, Human Services.
Thank you, Warden. We are now at 9.2 Committee of Whole Human Services Report, March 26, 2024. That the Human Services recommendation contained within the Committee of Whole report dated March 26, 2024 be approved. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Anybody want any pulled?
Any items to be pulled? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And lastly, Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Measures that the corporate services recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report dated March 26, 2024 be approved.
Any items on corporate that anybody'd like pulled? Not seeing any, so all in favor of the motion? That is carried. Presentations and considerations of special committee reports. We have none. County officers' reports, none. No notices of motion, not to my knowledge. And none which were previously given. Closed session, we have none. So consideration of the bills, Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Burkett, that bills number 7068-24, 7069-24, 7070-24, and 7071-24 be enacted as bylaws of the County of Simcoe.
Thank you. Any comments on the bylaws? Not seeing any, so all in favor? That is carried. So announcements, just a reminder that our next County Council Committee of the Whole is Tuesday, April 30th. That's what it was scheduled for, but it's not our normal week because of the OGRA conferences taking place on the 21st. So we will be here April 30th. Any other announcements? Deputy Warden, go ahead. Jennifer.
Thank you, Your Worship. It was mentioned during agenda review that maybe this might be better presented to your wife. However, I do have a certificate here congratulating yourself and Carrie on 35 years of marriage. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you. Okay, they kept that hidden from me. As I say every day, for Carrie's a present, isn't it? No, it was a great day, and actually a solar eclipse to mount the moment, right about the time we were married. So even the sun went into hiding for that particular hour. So a little bit of a complex. Thank you very much. I did not expect that. Any other announcements? Councillor Measures.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and congratulations on that wonderful achievement. I wish to bring to attention to the council, of course, the update on our county-wide Junior C hockey, as we had a terrific playoff run with the Carruthers Cup being awarded to the deserving team in this particular case. I'd like to congratulate the Stainer Siskins on an excellent season, and the fact that they had 4 losses in a row led to the championship going to the Alliston Hornets, and so I congratulate the Alliston Hornets organization, as well as the council, mayor and deputy mayor of New Tecumseh. Congratulations, and we wish the Hornets all the best as they go on to face the Hanover Barons, so that'll be a fun series too. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have to take this opportunity. I just want to let everybody know that the deputy mayor and I are really good winners because I have the jersey in the truck. He's supposed to wear it, but I left it out there out of respect. But I just want everybody to know that, and I'll constantly remind Councillor Measures on how nice we're being to him. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brian Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's important to note, although I understand the celebration is between my 2 friends here, one of the players that plays for the Alliston Hornets is a young man from Wasaga Beach whose father and mother are owners of the Wasaga Beach Home Hardware. And today at the Vimy Ridge ceremonies, Todd Young asked me to ensure that I would get a picture of Mayor Measures in that jersey. So I need this to be on the record. So is that when Mr. Young asked for that jersey, I simply didn't neglect to take the picture. It just didn't happen. So a little disappointed, but I would have loved the picture because I'm sure you brought a small. But at any rate, I need that on the record. Thank you.
All right. All right. Do I have any other announcements? Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Your Worship. This coming Friday at Liberty North is the Easter Seals Dancing event, and I want to take this time to express my gratitude to everybody who's donated, who's purchased seats, who's cheered me on, who's given me a pat on the back and go get them. This is all for a good cause, so I'm putting myself out there in a giant blonde afro wig and a 70s rainbow outfit, so if I can get pictures, I'll post it for everyone to see, but I just want to say again, thank you. It makes a big difference when you're going into new territory that you have such support behind you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I will go on to the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor McClellan, that bill number 7072-24 be enacted as a bylaw of the County of Simcoe.
All in favor? That is carried. And lastly, I'll look for a mover that we adjourn. Councillor Fowler, second by Councillor Anderson, that the April 9th, 2024 meeting of County Council be adjourned at 11:10 a.m. All in favor? That is carried. And with that, we'll call in our city reps and roll right into our committee of the whole. Okay, Jonathan, I'll go back for roll call.
Thank you, Warden. We have all city representatives in attendance with the exception of Aurelia Mayor McIsaac, in addition to those in attendance at council, and you have your quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll look for the approval of the agenda. Councillor Dolan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Greenlaw and seconded by Councillor Lavoie that the agenda for the April 9th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of the Whole be approved.
Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? That is carried. Do I have a declaration of pecuniary interest by any member of committee? If you find yourself in that situation later, please declare at that time. Presentations and delegations, we have none, and I'm to appoint Chair Leduc. I guess Human Services is first.
Thank you, Warden. We're on to Section 5, Human Services Consent. I want to welcome the city reps to our meeting today. It almost would have been a great day to have it at Vimy Ridge if we could have had that meeting there, but we'll be in the chamber instead. But under consent, I have two items. 5.1, the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and I have also the second item is 5.2, the Public Access Defibrillation Program update. Our GM, Jane St. Clair, is unable to attend today. She's attending to a family matter. So graciously, the CAO, Mr. Akins, has stepped up to provide the presentation or the announcements of the presentation. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Chair Leduc. Just quickly, 5.1, as you pointed out, is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, which is April 14th to 20th. I should note in the report as well, we are having our 13th annual Public Safety Communications Awards ceremony on April 16th at the Simcoe County Museum. Councillors will be getting an invitation, but if you've never attended that event, it's quite an amazing event to go to and see. So I just wanted to point that out to Council. So item 5.2, Public Access Defibrillation Program. We've got a bit of a presentation today, and I'd like to invite Chantel Demers and Kim Oxley, how are you? To come and give a little bit of a presentation. Hard to believe, but the Simcoe County Paramedic Services Public Access Defibrillation Program has been running since 2005. It seems like we just started it, but made a great impact. But I know a couple of councillors noted that we had a save in one of our recreation centers, and the follow-up was unknown, I think, to some councillors, and the amount of work that goes into the public access defibrillator program. So we're very happy to have staff here today to present and give council a bit of information on this long-standing, tremendous program in paramedic services. So thank you.
Sorry, this is literally my first time up here, so I'm a little nervous. And Kim, I made her come up with me, so. Do I have to work any of the technology? Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for having us this very important topic. Despite my nerves, I am very excited to be here to speak to you about this, so thank you very much. So 60,000 is the number of the out-of-hospital cardiac arrests that happen in Canada every year. And it's Can we start all over? Astronomical number. And unfortunately, that number just keeps going higher and higher every year. Our population is getting older. 9 out of 10 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests will result in death without immediate intervention. And that's where we really want to come into the picture with our PAD program. So the County of Simcoe Paramedic Services established the PAD program back in 2005, where we, over the years, have mostly placed 950 devices out in the public, which is incredible. 954 additional ones are placed in private settings as well. These AEDs are in schools, they're in arenas, they're in municipal buildings, they're really all over the place. If you look at the map of where they're peppered, 950 is a huge number, and that number continues to grow, which is incredible. This program has empowered both of our citizens and visitors of the County of Simcoe to play an active role in the chain of survival during sudden cardiac arrest. And the survival rates, that 9 out of 10 pre-hospital, that survival rate doubles if the CPR, early intervention CPR and the AED is used. So it's very, very impactful. And as a result of that, and as a result of the 950 devices placed out in our community, we've had 51 saves. So it's 51 people walking around that the odds were against them, and they're here with us because of it. So truly, truly impactful. Our PAD program is absolutely incredible. We have Heather up at the top as well. And Kim here. They're a mighty small team of 2, and they do incredible work. Not only do they have the public access defibrillator program, they also do public events, outreach programs, our volunteer program, the safety village, an RVH party program, which is probably not what you're thinking, race against drugs, and then the massive toy drive that we do every year, which should have a round of applause on its own. It's incredible. They do school visits, career days, county events, senior club, and community events. And in 2024 alone, we've already had 26 requests for paramedics to be there. In 2023, we've had 90 events. So the demand is there. Again, just 2 people. So going back to our PAD program, there is a lot of things that happen in the background to make this program successful. It is for nonprofit. So if you look at the chart, the framework, so we have a consultation and purchase program with the initial startup costs of about $2,200. And then we have on-site assistance, delivery and installations, operability and warranty programs, registration with our CAC program is all included in that initial startup. After the delivery and the installation takes place, we have a huge benefit for Kim with awareness sessions, first aid and CPR classes. We just want to really make sure that everyone is comfortable with the device on site. And that's the true vegan meat and potatoes of the program, is the support that Kim and Heather offer all of these 950 people out in the community. We do first aid and CPR sessions. We track and make sure that their AEDs are well maintained and they're going through the regular programs with that. And then most importantly, our after call support. So God forbid there is an event at, let's say, the arena. Kim will go on site, provide a loan or defib so they never really go without an AED on site, and then just talk through what happened, just to make sure everyone is comfortable with the event. This is a valuable piece for the responders and the bystanders to deal with the use of the defibrillator, and definitely provides an opportunity to ask questions and become more confident with their actions after the call. The PAD program efforts have resulted in training of over 17,000 residences in the county of Simcoe in first aid and CPR alone. So if you're interested in a PAD, I don't know if you want to take a picture of this, but we do have a website and email address, telephone number that you could call to get your PAD installation, or just start the conversation if you know someone in the public or a private business that wants to have one in their establishment as well. So here's where things get a little bit trickier. In 2020, there was Bill 141 that got introduced, and that basically, in a nutshell, means that all of the goal is for all of the defibrillators out in the public are registered through our dispatch. So if something were to happen, when you call 911, the dispatcher on the other end could let the caller know where the closest defibrillator is. Again, with all of the information is power here, right? We know that early intervention of CPR and AED is beneficial to the patient, so we want to tell people, if you are on the 3rd floor of a building and there's a defibrillator on the 4th floor and you have no idea that it's there, there's a huge gap in the system, and that's where Bill 141 comes in. So to date, the regulations around the Act have not been released on the definitions of the designated premises, but we do want to let you guys know that all of the defibrillators in our program are registered with our dispatch in the county of Simcoe. All 950 of them. So when there is a site that purchases an AED from a private organization, they're not always registered, and that's a bit of a gap in the system as well. And then hopefully as Bill 141 becomes more, I don't know what the right word is, solidified, then that gap will be smaller and smaller. Thank you, Kim. Oh boy. Any questions? Yes. Oh, I'm now on the chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Burkett.
Thank you. Through you to Chantel, thank you very much for what you do. You've done a great job. I can tell by the passion that you love what you do.
Thank you.
To Kim, thank you. And thank you, Sarah and Heather, for everything you do. But could you just maybe explain to council, when a pad is used, is there something recorded there that may help later on?
Speak to me. Yeah.
Hi. After a defibrillator, one of the public access defibrillators under our umbrella is used, we get notified either by the site or by one of our supervisors or one of our paramedics. We will go out and pick up that defib, drop a loaner off, and have a quick chat with the people who are there at that moment, bring that back to the hub, and we will then download that actual cardiac data and the CPR data from that. It can potentially, if the hospitals are looking for it, get utilized to assist if somebody is going to be getting an internal defibrillator or pacemaker placed. So it is a really valuable piece of technology that we can capture. They don't always look for that, but it is there and it is available if we have access to it quickly. And once we've refurbished that defibrillator, we'll bring it back out, and I try to arrange for whoever was involved in that actual rescue effort. And I try not to know whether the person has survived or not survived. I try not to bring that into it. Usually the people on site will tell me whether they did, but I'm just there strictly to say thank you, because if it wasn't for people stepping out of their comfort zones to actually take a defib off the wall and start to do CPR, the person probably wouldn't have had a chance at all. So for me, it is a privilege to be able to say thank you to these folks for doing what they do, because it gives that family of the person, whether they survived or they didn't, they know that everything was done. And it would be heart-wrenching to think that there's a defib sitting there that people didn't know about or people were too scared to take off the wall. So that's a long-winded answer to your quick question, because that's what I do. Thanks.
Actually, your chair, and go ahead, James.
Okay, you were, thank you.
And, Councillor Gordon, and then Raj.
Okay, we'll go to Councillor Gordon, then Councillor Sandu, and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation. The numbers are really good news. It's good to see the adoption. Just a little testimony that, we had our pad have to be used in a council meeting this term for one of our councillors who went down right in the middle of a debate. And although I think the credit probably goes to an embedded defibrillator that he had, the machine came off the wall. It was on him. We happened to have the fire chief in the hall too, which was wonderful. But we were ready and counting the staying alive. Ooh, that's the beat to do the compressions with, and it was absolutely, it had to be there. It needed to be there, and people weren't afraid to use it. And since then, there's been training for all of our staff in our municipality that felt a little weirded out by these machines that are in our buildings, and it was well attended as well. So just a testimony. These things work. They do save lives. Maybe they won't save lives 100% of the time, but you can guarantee that 100% of the times you don't use them, it's a missed opportunity to save that life. So kudos. And just maybe a little note to our media friends that follow along our agenda. It appears that the link in this report results in a 404 error on the county website. So it might be worth just tidying that up in the report. I know when you search, you can find it on the internet, but just the link in this report doesn't take you to where we'd expected it to take us. So thanks again, and keep up the fantastic work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Sandu.
Thank you, Chair. Chantal, I just want to say thank you. You did a great job presenting. I just had a comment that the team that's running this program and the leadership of the Simcoe County staff, thank you for doing this, because when we look at the numbers, it's not just 51. When we look at the number itself, it's 51. It's 51 families. Because of this program, they continue to make memories with their loved one. And this is a great opportunity if I encourage others to sign up for this program and take advantage of this, because this can save a life, and it has saved lives. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sandu, for those great words. I now have Councillor Cox, and then I've got Councillor Snell next.
I, too, just want to thank you. We had to use it at our arena twice this year, and thank you very much. And also, I think I got in touch with Kim about a month ago, and with that period of time, she's already been to the museum in Coldwater, given them the presentation, and I have another one lined up for you, and I had one before. So I just am very, very grateful, and so is everyone. And I think it's becoming more predominant, and people are becoming better, as, you know, to look for that and know where it is. So I just want to thank you all. Thank you. Oh, and one more, that presentation, could you send it out to all of us? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I also now have, I'll do Councillor Dolan because I'm up here at the front, and then I'll go to next Councillor Snell, then Councillor Smith, and Councillor Fowler.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you so much for the presentation. I'm going to date myself here, but I recall having a delegation to my local council back in the day when a doctor came in and said that our fire truck was going to have this defibrillator, whatever they're called, on the fire truck. And I remember asking the question at the time, well, what about our volunteer firefighters? Will they have one too? And the answer I got back was absolutely not. They're much too complicated for a mere mortal to understand. So that was the first defibrillator, and now they're everywhere, and you know, a 10-year-old could run them. So I thank you for that. My question is, under this new legislation, so I mean, it's a good news story, but we've got them coming from everywhere. We've got so many not-for-profit groups. In fact, just an hour ago at the Vimy Ridge breakfast, somebody said they wanted to donate another one. So we get them all the time. Are they all the same, or is there one brand, or is there, can the training be given in such a way that regardless of which machine it is, that they can still be used properly? And also, what if we're just going through registering all of these now, how do we as a lower tier municipality make sure that each of them is registered with paramedic services?
Who would like to take that?
Thank you. That was a lot in there. And I always kind of throw my mom under the bus and say even my mom could use these defibrillators that are out there right now because they are so easy to use. They all do the same thing. So each defibrillator takes a heart, and it can take a look and see if it's in a rhythm that's not in a good constructive beating rhythm, if it's in a rhythm that's just shaking the blood around or going too quickly. Once those defibrillator pads go on, it sends a shock through, which will stop that shaking and then bring back that natural rhythm. So any defibrillator will do that, and we can't see that with our naked eye, which is why those defibs are so important. In the meantime, as we're performing CPR, we are acting as that heart and we're perfusing that blood. So hand in hand, they're great tools. The defibs that we recommend are price point wise and actual ease of use wise. Those are the ones the Zoll 3s are the ones that we're recommending. They have a big screen, and it's a bossy voice, even bossier than mine, that kind of barks orders at you, and it's got pictures, and it shows you it's shape color and color coded as well. So they're really, really easy to use. But basically any defibrillator, as soon as you turn it on, it should start to talk you through what it is. So whether it's a red one or a green one or a blue one or a white one on the wall, taking it off, and dispatch will actually help walk you through using that defib as well, because they should know if it's been registered, they should know which type it is, that they can kind of help you through it. But the instructions that come across it are super, super easy. And I've lost the last bit of your question, registration. So with the registration, so we have the 950 that are under our umbrella, and I think it's 451 of the independent registries. So if you purchase a defibrillator from Joe's Defib Shop or from Costco or Shoppers or whatever you get that from, it is the site's responsibility to make sure that it's registered through paramedic services. And then we would follow up with them and kind of keep going on an ongoing basis to make sure it's being looked at, because there would be nothing worse than sending somebody to a defib that hasn't been looked at in 4 years and the battery's flat. So we want to make sure if it's registered that it is staying current with regards to that. Does that kind of cover it? Yes. Perfect.
Yes, thank you. Great question and great answers. I've got Councillor Snell next.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very timely. I actually had the opportunity to do first aid and CPR training just 2 weeks ago through our fire Fire Department. It was a great learning experience. As a refresher, it had been over a decade since doing it before, and technology changes, approaches and techniques change. So I definitely encourage everyone to take the time, especially as politicians. We're in a lot of public events with lots of people, so we can be a great resource. One of the questions I had, first of all, a comment to Councillor Dolan's point. I was shocked at how easy these AEDs are able to be used, because I'm sure in a moment you're panicked and you're not even thinking, and this machine just takes over in terms of really directing you in what you need to do. Is there any plan with the 950 sites to include naloxone in treatment in it? I know for the Wasaga Beach Fire Department, we put through a motion for our firefighters to carry those kits on their trucks so that they're able to disperse them in the community. Are you planning to include those, or do they already?
He's very passionate about this too.
There's a lot of passion here. With regards to the Narcan, the naloxone, everybody seems to be dealing with that a little bit differently. When I do any of my presentations, so I usually bring a kit with me with a trainer kit, and there'll be one outside that you can see if you want to on the way out. And I just usually say to my group of whoever it is, it's a lot of service clubs that I deal with, and then high school kids as well. And I usually kind of say, does anybody know what this is? And somebody's hand will go up, and then I'll kind of walk into it. Do you want to learn a bit more about it? And I just need one person to give me the, okay, I do. And there's always one in each group. Because I talk about it from, it's a personal thing. It's not just those people, as my dad would say. It's everybody that may run into issues with an opioid poisoning. Anybody who smokes weed, anybody who gets medications from a doctor, anybody who has dementia, they may take it incorrectly. Your 16-year-old has knee surgery. It's the 4-year-old brother or sister that may get into these pills, and then they may be the ones that we're trying to resuscitate. So it is just, it's an informative thing. It isn't mandated to be everywhere at this point in time. So I just talk to it about just personal. And a lot of our sites are including them in the defib cabinets. It's being placed differently. So it's not, as I say, it's not a mandated thing, but it is something that I think we as a public, we should all be aware of. I have a 17-year-old at home who went to pick up his puffers, and the pharmacy said, you know, hey, do you know about this? And he's like, yeah, I got a mom. Anyways, they just handed him a kit, just an Narcan kit, so he has one. He's a good angel, so he would never need anything like that, but he has it in his truck, which doesn't like to be hot or cold, but it is out there. So we are talking about that, but it isn't a mandated thing, so we probably won't be pushing that forward with regards to you need to have this, but it certainly isn't a bad thing for people to be aware of. Yep.
I read a sign one time that said, our building has fire extinguishers and don't plan to use them either, and along the same lines as the naloxone, right? It's just really good to have just in case, even though there's no plan to use them. So I think I echo Kim's sentiment there. It's a really good tool, and we have them on all of our ambulances and hand them out to anyone who asks. So it's great to have.
Great information. Yes, they're handy to have around. I next have Councillor Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and my Deputy Mayor touched on some of the points, but can never say enough good about our paramedic service. Thank you, ladies, for what you do, and if this was your first presentation, you'd never know what you did a great job, so thank you for that. Little blush never hurts either. It was interesting on Saturday, my wife and I were having a drive in Wasaga Beach, and I often say that you never pass a paramedic station, and there's never anyone around because they're always out. So we passed the paramedic station in Wasaga Beach, and there's one of our paramedics who's just walking out the door, and he's just sitting down in a lawn chair. He's trying to get some sun, and I said, well, there you said to my wife, you don't see that often. We drove down the road. 3 minutes later, we drove back, and they're heading out the driveway. So I spoke too soon. So my apologies to that team. But with respect to the defibrillators and naloxone, I'm not sure that every municipality and every building in every municipality is equipped with these, and perhaps that's something that we should be talking about and thinking about to make sure that all of our buildings have this equipment. So is that our buildings are throughout our municipalities, so it's always close to someone possibly. But then training for staff, because I understand these machines are very easy to use, and but in that moment in time,
when you're in panic, although it might seem simple and easy, that perhaps it's not. So maybe also thinking about doing some training, hopefully with the paramedic services in our municipalities with our staff where we have these machines and naloxone kits as well, I think would be a great idea. So again, thank you, ladies, for what you do.
Yeah,
appreciate
100%.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for those comments. Councillor Fowler next, please.
Thank you, Chair. One, I'm going to give you credit because I've seen the work that paramedics do firsthand as first responders, and it takes a certain level of intestinal fortitude, which I will graciously admit I don't have. So the fact that you do it on a daily basis is something I find incredibly impressive, so thank you for that. The question I have is more technical. It's more about compliance and due diligence. Now, how often are these units tested to see if the battery's holding charge or if there's an issue? Is there a trigger, a sensor on the box, on the unit itself that alerts the people who have it in their building when it's not functioning at full capacity? Because I hate to be at an event and go to try to use one and find out there's a malfunction. So how does the due diligence work with this?
Under our umbrella, we have an online tracking program, and at least once a month, we're expecting somebody to go onto that tracking program, which means they need to go and physically look at their defibrillators. So they need to take a look. When they open that door, there should be an alarm that sounds. That doesn't go anywhere, but it makes enough people crazy. It's going to draw attention to that there's an emergency, and then it'll bring you help if you're doing CPR and using a defib on somebody. So does the alarm work? Is there a green check mark or a flashing light? Is there the pads that haven't been expired? Those are all things that get checked on a monthly basis by people, and it's online and it's tracked. So that's part of the compliance component with the new bill that's coming through as well. We've been doing that since the inception of the program. We've been tracking and just making sure that there is a defibrillator that's available to people. If, as the pads and batteries, depending on the defib that you choose, the pads and batteries expire at different timelines. The Zoll 3 is the ones that we're kind of looking at right now. It's every 5 years, so I think it's 45, 30, 15, and 0 days before those pads and batteries expire. The person who is that primary site contact will get a notification that you should be ordering new to replace, and then it will also go to an upper person on that kind of chain as well.
Just to follow up, when they replace these units, I've had enough training with the Board of Education to see the evolution as it moves forward. Are there any plans to potentially, as most locations have Wi-Fi access to tap in case there's a situation that goes to a central headquarters where it would actually identify an issue before the month comes up, where they have to do the testing?
There are some cabinets that will monitor. They will actually, if they cover up that green check mark or they cover up that area for the most part that I've seen with these cabinets. And for me, the public access, it's truly about the public. If people aren't looking at it and people aren't kind of opening that cabinet and taking a look at it, and we're depending strictly on Wi-Fi, it takes that peopling out of it. And I think that what we're doing here is peopling. We need people to be familiar. We need Ethel at the community hall, and we need Stan, who's down at the library. We need them to actually be comfortable to look at it and know what it is that they're looking for. So I get a little bit leery when I think, oh, the Wi-Fi technology, it makes everything so great, until it doesn't. I would much rather that people still be involved in that. So we do have some cabinets that are out there that do fall under our umbrella that are being monitored like that, but I still have site reps that are going out and taking it. It's an individual part of the organization themselves that will go out and take a look at it and report back on the tracking as well. So it's kind of a combination of both, but just because of what we're asking people to do, I want people to be comfortable and to know where it is and know what it looks like. And the more people that see Ethel opening that cabinet at the community hall or stand at the library, the more people see them kind of looking at it, there's more conversation and people, it just brings awareness. So for me, it's just about the awareness component.
All right. Thank you for those questions. Great conversation. Any further questions? Seeing none this time. So thank you so much for your presentation. You did a wonderful job. You entertained council and got them going with a bunch of questions. What you do is astronomical. You save lives, and it showed in that presentation where 51 families are enjoying memories, like Councillor Sandu said. So we appreciate what you do out there, and we thank you so much for it. So I have a consent item, so if you're good to go, I have the following consent items having been given due consideration be received. It's in both, and remember our CAO Aikens had mentioned the April 16th awards event that we're doing also over at the museum. So those two items are here. Moved by Councillor Broderick, seconded by Councillor Sandu. Question or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. Excellent. We are now on to Section 6, Human Services, Long-Term Care Committee of Management. Again, Ms. St. Clair is not here today, so I turn it back to our CEO, Mark Akins, to introduce the next presenter.
Thank you very much, Chair Leduc, and I appreciate the councillors that asked for the update on the defibrillator program. It's certainly one of many amazing programs we have in paramedic services. The next report, 6.1, talks a little bit about the Ontario Health Team program. You may recall, Council, in 2019, legislation was passed which created the Ontario Health Teams. And when you look at the report and the list of responsibilities under the Ontario Health Team, Simcoe County directly is involved in many of those. So we, you may recall, for those that were returning, created our own Ontario Health Team program. And today, very happy to have Alison Howard here today, who is our Director of Health System Planning, to give a little bit of a presentation on the county's OHT program. So, Alison, how are you?
Thanks. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. Today I'm just going to go through the objectives and quickly give an overview of the Ontario Health Teams. We'll go through how the Ontario Health Teams have been developed and talk about the Ontario Health Teams, also known as OHTs, in the County of Simcoe, and then talk about the program that we've developed within the county. So just some background, and Mark alluded to it, is that the 2019 Connecting Care Act was passed, and this was passed and started off the Ontario Health Teams. So the Ontario Health Teams is a new model of care delivery within Ontario, and it is a change within the province. Community health and social service providers within each community across the province have partnered to complete in the initial phase, and that was a self-assessment. There are several steps in the process to become a designated Ontario Health Team, which is the top part of the process. So there is 57 Ontario Health Teams across the province, and recently 12 of them have been selected as accelerated Ontario Health Teams. This slide gives a brief overview about the initial steps of the self-assessment. So if you were selected at the self-assessment, the government asked you to put in a full assessment, and then you were designated the OHT status, so in development. These 12 accelerated OHTs that were identified in the fall of 2023 have proceeded on a little bit further in the process than the rest of out of the 57. Go to the next slide. So within the application process, each OHT had to provide the structure of governance within their particular group. And within that there's some general kind of consistency in the structure across all of the OHTs. So there's a governance and joint executive team, and they are the representatives of different organizations, and they have decision-making authority. The operation and collaborative leadership kind of takes a look at the knowledge and ability to plan service and make recommendations, and then identify projects and initiatives. And then the last part of the structure is the working groups, community practice, and networking, and these individuals are the subject matter experts, so the people within the organization carrying out the work. So within the County of Simcoe, there are 5 OHTs. There's South Georgian Bay, and that's led by the South Georgian Bay Family Health Team. Berrien Area OHT and RVH is the lead for that OHT. Northern York South Simcoe OHT is led by South Lake Regional Health Center. South Simcoe did have OHT, and Stevenson was leading that, but they have amalgamated with the South Lake team, and their new name is the Northern South Simcoe OHT. Bit of a mouthful. There's the North Simcoe OHT, and that's run again led by the Family Health Team, and the Couchiching. So Couchiching is led by the Couchiching Family Health Team, and they have been designated accelerated status. So this slide here gives you an idea as to where each OHT covers, and it may be hard to read, but so each of the different areas across the county, and they're all included in the OHT. So as I said, in the fall of 2023, there was 12 OHTs that were given accelerated status. So this accelerated status, they get additional funding. They are the leaders for developing the OHT in their particular area, and they have shared lessons learned, and they're sharing across the province. So the 12 OHTs across the province that are accelerated status are sharing lessons learned and kind of moving things forward. So at the end of, I think it's 2025, 26, the goal is for them to be incorporated, and they will get designated as an OHT. So that's kind of like the last stage. In that, they'll be looking at, the focus of them is to develop seamless transitions for people experiencing chronic disease across the healthcare system. At their mature state, they will provide care continuum, navigation services, performance management framework, accountability and funding, and look at digital health. So the whole goal and purpose of them is to make sure that, I'll go back to this slide, that everybody's working together. So it's expected that all the healthcare organizations and social service providers in an OHT are working together to provide that continuum of care for every individual within a defined geographic area. So within the County of Simcoe, we've developed the Ontario Health Program. So the purpose of that is to ensure alignment with the county's strategic plans and Ontario Health plans. It's to define our role as the primary stakeholder within the OHTs and to ensure that we have participation and representation at every level within each of the OHTs. So in this screen, it shows you the structure of the program. So with the 5 OHTs, there's going to be, there's like I said, there's several different layers and many committees and working groups that we have representation with each of them. So I'm responsible as a program lead to be gathering the information, participating in the OHTs, and to be bringing that back to our steering committee. And the steering committee will be helping to identify and confirm that people are represented at the right spots, and then make recommendations for if we need to provide further health, human resources, or funding, or provide support in any way to help manage within the OHTs. And then I would help support with that communication with the executive management and then county council. So the guiding principles is to be visible and a contributing partner on each of the OHTs, to communicate the work that's being done and find synergies with the priorities that we have with the Ontario Health Team priorities. The County of Simcoe has a lot of work and programs that they're currently doing, and I do know that within the Couchiching OHT right now, the community paramedicine program is very involved with the integrated frameworks and clinical pathways. The other reason for having this program is to ensure that we have advocacy and collaborate within each of the OHTs across our area. So as I said, I'm the program lead. I'm helping to develop representation across all the committees and working groups, provide regular reviews at all the OHT as all the work is done, and ensuring integration of the planning. Any questions? Sorry.
All right, any questions out there? I have Councillor Fowler first. Question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the map, and I'm seeing the boundaries and how they go about through the communities. Right there, like the one thing that stood out with me is in the southeast corner of Innisfil, everything is central to Berrien area OHT, but the North Simcoe, I think it is, Northern York Simcoe OHT curves up away. Now, is that due to proximity? Is it what's defines the boundaries?
So it's actually Ontario Health that defined the boundaries for each of the OHTs. So when they were originally looking at where each of them were going to, like, which areas were going to be OHTs, they did initially had some recommendations back out to healthcare providers. So they look at where are people accessing services and how are they accessing the services. So that's what they take into consideration.
So you're saying it's organically driven by where the people go as opposed to where you want them to go?
Well, yeah. So the goal is to get them into the area because we do know that there is a challenge with people moving into the county of Simcoe, but they're still accessing services in the GTA. So I know that within each of the OHTs, we are currently working on looking at the services that we have, ensure that we have the right services in place to make sure that people are able to access what they need within their area.
Yeah, just to further build on that point, that I would hope that the OHTs actually redefine the boundaries, because Poor Agila has 3 OHT teams in their physical geography. So it's difficult when it comes to the physician recommending where you head. It's going to be where do you live, and then off you go to some. So the mapping, I had the same issue with the mapping. I think it has to be. I hope that the strategy is to probably readjust the mapping so it makes sense. Use the boundaries of the towns so that the physicians can move this more efficiently through the system. So that was my concern also. So I had Councillor Cox next.
I'd just like to say that these health teams are the best thing I've seen happen. I was a person with a family member who was there when the LHINs was, and when I got on the Ontario Health team at the beginning of it, I was totally impressed with their electronic system, the navigation they offer now, all the services that they have collaborated with. They have patient input, family input. Everything has come together, and I have the Couchiching Ontario Health team. They have done a fabulous job, and they work so well with the community, and I'm highly impressed with the fact that when you go in now with a family member or a patient, they catch you, everything's electronic, they follow you through, you know exactly what's going on. So I am very impressed with this whole health team. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, there's a lot of work happening. I attended a lot of meetings in different OHTs, and so when I first started, it was a lot of information to kind of put together and figure out how everything works. But it's nice to see everybody working together in that collaboration, because that integration of care across the continuum is so important for every resident across the province.
Great. Thank you very much. For the questions I have Councillor Hammond next, and then I have Councillor Hampton after.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I was actually surprised until I read your report the county had a lead role in the OHTs, because I've had a number of meetings with the group in South Georgian Bay, and they never mentioned a county role. So I'm just wondering if you can clarify, is this a new service area for the county? Have we added a lot of staff? Like, what exactly will county council's role be with respect to these OHTs? And my second question is, in the southern part, I can see it's partially York Region. Do we share jurisdiction with York Region? And my third question is, are the leads all the upper tiers in the province? Yeah, thank you.
So I'll let Mark speak to your first part of your question.
Sure. In the report, through the chair to Councillor Hamlin, in the report you'll see kind of all of the sector members that are involved in the Ontario Health teams, and you'll see quite a number of them are services directly provided by Simcoe County. So at the beginning, when the Ontario Health teams, when the LHINs were dissolving and the Ontario Health teams were forming, and to the mapping, some of it has to do with the old LHIN boundaries and kind of the catchment areas of acute care around the hospitals. And I do know that they're hoping to streamline those. So County Council at the time determined that because there was quite a number of considerations around community health care and family health teams and ensuring that if the Ontario health teams were going to be the providers of funding for these services, that there was a concern amongst community health care that they wanted to make sure that not all the dollars were going to be similar to the old health council spent on acute care, and the community care programs wouldn't follow. So obviously with 5 OHTs within Simcoe County, the direction was that we strengthen, I guess, our position and our involvement on each of the Ontario health teams to make sure that the services provided by the county, particularly our direct health care services, are front and center, as well as our social and community services are front and center with respect to providing health. And there's overlap too to other things such as our community safety and well-being plans and those types of things. So, and when it comes to healthcare, and as you know, I mean, we've got over 2,000 employees, and you know, the vast majority of them are healthcare workers, either in long-term care or paramedic services or within social and community services and housing as well. So that was the impetus for ensuring that we had a coordinated approach and consistency in terms of representation to all the 5 different OHTs.
I can speak to the northern your question about why York Region and how does that fit with Simcoe. So I do know from experience with being involved on the hospital board at Stevenson Memorial is that they had initially put forward a request and a submission for a South Simcoe OHT, and so they were in development. They did get told that they weren't going to be going forward, so they then needed to look at who do they kind of amalgamate with, and what does that look like for their community? So knowing that Headwaters OHT kind of runs into their borders a little bit, and then you have York Region and then the Barrie. So the people in South Simcoe are accessing services in each of those areas. So they felt that the best fit was with the South Lake OHT.
Thank you. Councillor Hamlin, any further? Councillor Hampton?
Hi, yeah, thank you for the presentation. I do see value in the county being a participant at each of the 5 OHTs, so it's great. I think the OHTs that are strongest across the province are the ones that actually do have municipal involvement, so happy to see that. My question is whether or not the 5 OHTs in Simcoe County and specifically the Barrie area OHT have identified the unhoused population as a target population, and if they have not, if this is something the county would be suggesting for them. For me, I see the homeless population as being a key target population that would benefit from integrated services across the spectrum of care, mental health, addictions, the county. So can you comment on that?
So I'll pass it over to Mina about the housing part of it, but I do know that they are working on homeless and shelters, and their mental health and addictions is involved across every single OHT, as well as having a regional OHT to kind of oversee those mental health and addictions. But I'll pass it over to Mina.
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, Councillor Hamlin. So we have engaged the Couchiching Health Team on a pilot that works directly in our shelter systems. And we expanded that pilot successfully to our new Aurelia hub space that has a clinical space and we're actually, in that work, we were able to not only identify 20,000 unattached people being served by those health teams, but now that they can now access non-urgent care through the clinics, settings that we've set up in the Aurelia hub. So our goal is to take that work and expand it to our Barrie hub at Rose Street, and then thereafter start to establish it across all 5 as a common practice for those experiencing homelessness.
And just to follow up there, so is the main outcome there attaching the unattached? Is that sort of the main intent? Okay.
Yeah, one of the factors is attaching the unattached. So even in our current conversations with the Ontario Health teams and their funding programming team is also possibly even making a case for a 6th team that is only focused on the unattached as well. So both those conversations and approaches are concurrently happening at the same time.
Great, thank you. I'd love to see that pilot come to Barrie, obviously, and I'd love to see the metrics extend beyond just attaching the unattached. I think there's a lot more to do in terms of partnerships across all the different service agencies in the county, and really looking at these as individuals and saying, what does each one need? It's not just being attached to a primary care provider, but it's being housed, having a caseworker. So I'd love to see a more fulsome metrics being used with this population, but a great start, so thank you.
If I may, just to add to that, and I think it touches on one of Councillor Hamlin's questions as well, with respect to municipal involvement. So obviously, given the services provided by designated service managers around homelessness and health and our community paramedicine programs, and I know AMO, Councillor Dolan, has been pushing municipal involvement in the OHTs. I think it's very critical that the players that are actually providing the services are involved in the discussions right at the OHT funding table. So I think it's a good collaboration, as Allison pointed out.
Yeah, and we will have representation across the different departments. Like Mina has some staff that are participating. So we're making sure that both health and social services and other departments as needed are participating on the OHTs.
So great questions. Thank you very much. And don't get me wrong, OHTs are great. I support this 100%. The boundary adjustments is something that I hope they can look at in the future. But look forward to seeing some further reports. So I'm going to ask, if we have no further questions, I'll ask Councillor Hamlin to move it and Councillor Hamilton to second it. All right. So I have a recommendation that item CCW 2024-113, dated April 9, 2024, regarding Ontario Health Team Program be received. No further questions. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I do have the last one, Section 7, Human Services, other matters for consideration. Does anybody have other matters for consideration? At this time, I see none. I turn it back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Chair Leduc, and thank you to the city reps for coming out for the two presentations. I will turn it over to Chair Dolan just for other matters for consideration.
Thank you, Worship. An easy day for me today. I have no items. Just wondered if there's any matters for consideration under corporate services today. Seeing none, I'll turn it over to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Perhaps if next meeting we could have a small waste management discussion or something under corporate services so Councillor Dolan doesn't feel left out. Performance management, Chair Cox, go ahead.
Okay, item 9.1, the performance management consent agenda. Did anyone want to pull anything on the consent? Speak to it? Okay. Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Snell, second by Councillor Norris, that, the following consented agenda item having been given due consideration be received. All in favor? Carried. Number 10.1, CCW 2024-052-2023 year end, and I will turn this over to GM Wilcox to speak to it.
Thank you very much, Chair Cox. I thought I'd just give a quick overview to council, and we can entertain any questions at all. I think I was quite shocked at how we landed the plane this time, basically on the postage stamp of an aircraft carrier. So we had an operating budget of over $500 million, and we have an total operating surplus of only $128,000. It's as close to zero as I'd like to get without going under. So it was a fantastic result in terms of that. From an operating standpoint, we had a very slight deficit in operating balance. We had a bit of a surplus counteracting that in capital, so an overall surplus of $128,000. In terms of highlights, the report's very thorough in terms of all of the different technical areas where we've got pluses and minuses. A high level and looking at the department view, we had a challenge in a couple of areas which we've seen along the way. So in long-term care, we had some overages there related to contract staff and the expenses around that were unforeseen. We did have some extra funding that came in to help offset that, but it didn't totally offset it. We also had some inflationary pressures that hit paramedic services and drove that area over, and a little bit also in social housing. But there were some good offsets as well. Major offsets were in solid waste management, so we got some good news in terms of some of the revenues that we got in and some of the costs that were lower than expected. And then a number of other departments had very small but contributing surpluses that kind of added up and covered us for the rest. So I think overall we had a great year in 23, covered what we needed to. We had some good offsets for the areas where we had challenges, and we're going to be continuing to monitor those this year in terms of making sure that they're trending down. With that, I'll happy to entertain any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Fryer.
Thank you, Chair Cox, and through you to Treasurer Wilcox. You also were very good at collection of taxes by the looks of it, too. I was surprised to see the $4,000 amount for 2023 as a total. Recognizing that even though you might write something off, you probably try to continue to collect. I am gathering that there was probably a netting out here that helped that, but as I said, I was quite impressed to see the low level and wondered if you could elaborate a little bit that.
Sure. I think I'll turn that over to our treasurer, Leland Civic, to give us some details on that.
Thank you. Through the chair. The taxes throughout the year, at year end, we do a reconciliation with each of the municipalities on the overall tax levy, as well as the supplementary taxes or the supplementary taxes that were submitted throughout the year, and that is netted against the write-offs that, again, are provided by the municipalities. So it is an overall net, as you pointed out, and we did end up the year quite favorably with the overall tax impact.
Any other questions? Councillor Duke.
Through you, Madam Chair, can I get just a clarity, a little bit of a clarity on, I just need clarity on my mind here. We had an increase in forestry income. It says increase in miscellaneous income. It doesn't really break it out, but then I go down to the next slide and it's about year-end balances. So I'm just trying to figure out the 23 year-end adjusted balance. So when I look at forestry, let's look at forestry just to be simple. It starts at $12 million. Is that like, tell me how this works, because which year-end balance am I looking at? The 15.9 million or the 12.082 million?
Do you want? Thank you.
Sorry, the 2023. So there's three columns there. The first column is the year. Sorry, that should be. Yeah, that's the year-end balance in terms of total dollars that are in the reserve. Then we give a column that states exactly what commitments are made. So if we have commitments towards a specific project, an acquisition, or a program, then those are netted out, and we give the final column at the end, which is the uncommitted area. So that's really the one that we would look at in terms of what we would use for other future programs, things like that. Does that help?
So I'm sorry, maybe I didn't hear it. The column we're looking at is the adjusted?
In the funds.
In the funds, right? That's what we have at the year-end balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Leland looks like he wants to add something.
Yes, the 2023 year-end balance will be on the audited financial statements. And as Trevor pointed out, the commitments and adjustments were for carry forwards and other commitments that have been made by council previously. And then at the end of it, we do adjust that balance to be what's available in the reserves.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Locke. That item CCW 2024-5052, dated April 9th, 2024, regarding the 2023 year-end financial report for the Corporation of the County of Simcoe be received, and that the 2023 surplus be allocated to the General Contingency Reserve as outlined in item CCW 2024-052. All in favor? Carried. Are there any other matters for consideration? Seeing none, back to you.
Thank you, Chair Cox. And for the folks here, there is some lunch out front because we brought you in right at dinner time. One thing I should have announced under announcements earlier at the council meeting, and I forget and I apologize, we did have the Warden's Bonfield last Thursday, and the winners were Team Collingwood, though. Congratulations to Team Collingwood, though I didn't see the mayor and deputy mayor. I suspect it was ringers that were sent, possibly part of the Olympic team. Yeah, and I want to thank Jonathan and Trevor and Mina and myself. We're on the Warden's team, and we were kind enough to donate Collingwood 13 points in the first game. We were a little slow out the gate, so it was a great day. We had 8 teams, and thank you for everybody that participated. With that, I will look for a motion to adjourn. How about Councillor Fryer and Councillor Hamlin? That we adjourn the April 9th meeting at 12:12. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.